pretty face.
What's up, buddy?
I've
taken
taken
a race car behind you. Is that Claudio's office?
This is Claudio's office. So I've taken over his office. Can you hear me okay?
You've commandeered it, huh?
I do whatever I want. Next time I come to Denver, I'm gonna take over your office.
You're gonna post up. Yeah, what's up, Memo? Hey guys, and real quick, everyone's muted upon entry. So if we're gonna be calling on some people, I want you guys to ask a lot of questions. Today's gonna be pretty interactive. So whenever you got something, throw your hand up, and Ben will be happy to answer it. It's 10:01. I say we get started. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think let's roll. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. I can see you even better.
Hey, as long as you can see me okay, we're good to go.
That's good. That's good. All right. So just a few things real quick. Quick intro about Ben. Ben and I have been friends for north of 10 years now. He personally coaches me. He is one of the best of the best. He's a performance and mindset coach for, I don't know if you guys have heard of Alabama football, a little program out east, the Miami Dolphins. He was Real Leaders Magazine top 50 speaker in the world for 2019, 2020, 2022. I don't know what happened in 2021, but I'm pretty sure he's still qualified for that position. Some of his clients include the U.S. Army, Microsoft, the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Who's Who. The guy's a monster. He's the epitome of discipline. Like I told this story last time, but I'll tell it again for all the newcomers here. There's nothing worse than getting a text as I'm going home from Ben getting up in the morning. That'll humble you. Because Ben, what time do you wake up?
2:24.
So,
but hey, but you got to remember
yeah.
That's not a recommendation for anybody. I'm answering the question, but that is not a recommendation, nor am I going to make that a suggestion for anybody.
It makes sense. But yeah, so 2:24 Ben gets up. I'm like a 5:15 guy these days. I decided to do the 75 hard again. Follow the discipline train here with Mr. Ben. Ben, also, how many days in a row have you done what's called the unrequired workout? So this is a workout after his regular workout. So he goes and he pumps iron for an hour, and he does 250 air squats, 4-minute and 44-second plank uninterrupted. I can do like 2 minutes now. 4-minute and 44-second reverse plank laying on back. 44 push-ups, 2 sets, 250 straight jumping jacks, 4x44 abs, 4x44 cardio, 4x44 wall sits, 44 kettlebell curls, and 4x44 calf raises. You got to finish with the real meathead exercises. You got to do the thighs and the calves, right? How many days in a row have you done this?
1,196. And I got to lead a group. It was the first time I'd ever done this. I was in town, actually in Denver, for a construction event. It was a huge contractors conference, and we had 100 people that actually did the workout outside, kind of like right on the promenade at the Westminster Westin. It was absolutely awesome. So we all did it together, motivating each other, pushing each other. It was pretty cool.
I love it.
We may have to come out for one of these quarterlies and just do it in person and do the workout.
You got to come get Alex Chapman on that train. I want to see him do a 4-minute and 44-second. I can believe Will Grimes can do it. What's up, Will?
Will Grimes could plank for like 3 straight days.
He could probably do that with me sitting on his back. So quick, like, why do we do these? Oh, Will, you're muted, homie.
I'll say this, Ben, what a pleasure to see you, buddy. And I'll say this, I might be able to plank that long, but it's not that, man. It's the accountability of just watching guys do it and perform it that becomes, consistent. And I love that you get up early because it's reminded me of my own discipline. But I think the biggest lesson I took from, being on your speaking team and being around you and getting the same text messages was, don't wake up at 2:24, don't wake, whatever it is, but like, hey, if you're a 5 a.m., 6 a.m., what you need to have is a plan. And what you need to have is consistency, whatever that is for you. And once you start implementing that, you'll realize how powerful and how much momentum runs into each day when you create that system for yourself. So you sticking to it is not only impressive, but it really speaks to the consistency of that game plan and how much it correlates to the momentum in your own life.
I appreciate that, Will.
Well said. Well said. So, we do this. The market shifted. Conditions are more difficult. My number one job is to make sure all my team, all my realtors, everyone who's with us gets through this. We're better together, guys. It's that damn simple. We're better together. This is going to be difficult. I mean, Alex Chapman, you think there's going to be more or less business next year?
I think there's going to be more business for the people that stay consistent.
Yeah.
I think that right now, and again, we run a team of 52 brokers, realtors here, and I was excited to get on this call today because we're trying to reach deep for motivation and stay optimistic here. But I think the people that stay consistent in their routines, their follow-ups, their positivity, and stay optimistic, they're the ones that are going to come out of this next year. May have more business, but I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball. I'm kind of at this standstill with what is actually going to happen. I have no idea. Just put my head down and do what I've always done. That's all. That's all I know how to do.
That's all we can do, right? Yeah, and there's going to be, guys, this is sales. There's going to be winners and losers. There's going to be people on both sides of the ball. And our biggest thing is we want to focus on what we can do to win, consistent habits. You don't need to get up at 2:34 in the morning like Mr. Ben here, but there's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover today that'll help this. I reheard one of my favorite quotes yesterday, listening to Ben's good buddy Ed Milan, and it was pain is mandatory, suffering's optional. There's going to be some pain coming up, but we don't have to suffer through it. Just through habits and some stuff we'll cover today, we'll be able to get through it. And again, we're better together. So without further ado, Mr. Ben, take it away, buddy.
Well, I'm excited to be back with all of you. I know we've got some new faces that are with us today. I really want to say thank you to Brett. Brett has remained consistent and steadfast in his desire to want to continue to partner with all of you, but to enhance the relationships with all of you during this trying time. As we talked about last time, there are so many people, when adversity strikes, they just sit on the sideline and they say, well, what's going to happen? What are rates going to do? How's this going to unfold? And they stop doing the things. Alex, you just mentioned the word discipline, right? If we stop all of our disciplines and we sit on the sideline, you can't have any expectation that anything positive is going to happen that's going to generate business. Yet if we get off the sideline and we remain disciplined in doing the things that we once did, it may not result in the same number of closes, the same number of revenue, the same amount of impact. But if you keep moving, you create distance from those individuals who sit on the sideline, who essentially have to start over when everything comes back. And I've had the blessing of working with individuals, some of the highest performers in real estate and construction and the mortgage industry for over 10 years. And the individuals who stay consistent in their disciplines. And, Alex, you mentioned the word positive. I think you also have to remember to stay neutral, right? To not allow your feelings, as we talked about last time, don't allow your feelings to dictate how you show up. It's almost staying in this neutral state, because you're going to have days where you're like, oh my gosh, because I stayed busy, look at the result. Look at this great thing that happened. And then you're going to have those days where it's like, okay, that was so awful yesterday. I don't feel like coming in. So through the goods and the bads, you almost have to stay neutral and say, I'm just going to show up and stay focused on my disciplines to do what I know I need to do to move the business forward. So it's almost staying neutral during this period of time. And I'm going to share a story about staying neutral in belief that I think is very relevant. And then as Brett and I prepared for today, there were a couple of things we wanted to do, really just open this up, more question and answers with all of you today, so we can understand what is going on with you right now, so we can address it head on, rather than this being like a keynote speech for me, really from our introduction of myself to all of you last time. And then Claudio Gambin, which is where I am right now. I'm actually down in Orlando to spend time with Claudio and his team, and then to speak at another contractor event tomorrow before I fly home. And so it's interesting how the calendar works. I had shared with Brett, I said, Brett, I'm going to be in Orlando, and it's fine. I can do it in Claudio's office, but we should have Claudio come on. I mean, this is one of the top financial minds in the world, probably in the top 0.5%. It's kind of ironic, but I shared with you, Claudio is the example in standard over feelings, right? So, and now I'm here in his office. It's just amazing how things work. So you'll get to meet Claudio just for a little bit of a state of the economy, the importance of understanding what's going on in the economy as it applies to your money and your savings, and taking care of yourself during these times. Because yes, we want to give and serve our clients, but we have to take care of ourselves personally, professionally, financially, mentally, in all these areas. All right, so let me tell a story, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brett to start firing away some questions, and then we'll address it with all of you. So we're right in the middle of football season. So for me, football season gets a little bit of crazy. I turn to working 7 days a week. Every single Saturday, you'll find me on a sideline somewhere. This Saturday, I'll be with the Michigan State Spartans against Ohio State. So be prepared to see a 60-minute fight. It might just be the biggest upset in college football this year. So just a little foreshadow there. But I want to take you back to 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was with the Kansas State Wildcats, and we were heading to play Oklahoma. Now, to paint this picture, and yes, Jorge, Alabama's rolling, so roll tide. You know, Bama's doing great. But Kansas State, I was with them 2 weeks ago, and we were slated to play at Oklahoma. Oklahoma was the number 6 rated team in the country. We got off to a great start. We won our first 2 games in the year, kicked the hell out of Missouri. Then we played Tulane at home 3 weeks ago. We lose to Tulane, so very disappointed. And as I share this story about football, for even some of you who might not like football or sports, this applies to the importance of you believing, regardless of how tough this economy seems right now for you, regardless of the uncertainty, the fears, the doubts, you have to continue to believe. You are going to have ups and downs. Nobody's going to coast through this period of time. But those who are fighters, who have the adversities, the understanding that pain is where we develop our greatest strength mentality, you are the ones that will persevere. So we lose to Tulane, and then we're battling Oklahoma, the number 6 team in the country, literally the media. And the media in college football, you have to just erase the noise, because it's amazing the way that they talk. When they're saying our season's over, and how could you lose to a football team like Tulane? And so we as a team had to silence the noise. Just like I would encourage for all of you, you have to silence the noise right now. If you give too much strength, if you give too much of your emotion, if you give too much of your mindset to the media who wants you to believe that the world is coming to an end, to politicians who want you to believe that the world is coming to an end so that they build more strength, if those are the things that we focus on, it's really tough for you to persevere. So I encourage you to silence the noise, just like we had to silence the noise. It didn't matter that we lost to Tulane. Did we believe that we could do something special against the number 6 team in the country? So I fly into Manhattan, Kansas to meet the team, to then fly to Oklahoma. And what I said to the team was, I said, you have to strip the name off the jersey. And what I meant by that was, Oklahoma is one of the most storied football traditions in the history of college football. You're going into their place. There's nothing in Oklahoma except for college football. So college football is everything to them in Oklahoma. So we're going there. You've got to strip the name off the jersey. The rankings do not matter. Same for you. You can't worry about things that are out of your control. You can't worry about what interest rates are. Might change the scope of your business, might change how many deals you get done, but you must stay active. And so I tell the players, strip the name off the jersey. I don't care about rankings. What I care about is each and every single one of you staying together, staying committed to your opportunity to do something special, to play for 60 minutes, 6 seconds of play, one play at a time. And if you commit to doing that and putting our best 60 minutes of football on tape, when we see zeros, when there's no time left on the clock, I know what the result is going to be, and we're going to be proud to walk out of there together. We head to Oklahoma the next day. If you guys can picture this, there's 100 of us in purple. I actually posted it on Instagram yesterday. The USA Today had a pretty cool picture. If you guys go on my Instagram, at Continued Fight, somebody just sent it to me the other day. I didn't even know about the picture, but it was in the USA Today. And it was a picture of me when our star quarterback was running for a 59-yard touchdown. And I had my hand raised up on the sideline. And so we go in, there's 100 of us wearing purple. You see me in this purple t-shirt. And there's 85,000 strong in Oklahoma. And just to paint the picture of like Oklahoma football, when they score a touchdown, all the lights go out, this red light show starts, the fireworks go up. I think they spend more money on scoring a touchdown than Kansas State even has in our entire football budget for the entire year. I mean, it's extraordinary, the spectacle of a game in Oklahoma. So that's what we're walking into. It's 100 against 85,000. And we had to choose to stay committed one play at a time. Just like each and every single one of you right now. The only thing you can control is, right now it's October the 5th. We know that the year is going to end on December the 31st, and we're going to have 2023 start on January the 1st. All I care about for each and every single one of you is, regardless of interest rates, regardless of if you're doing less deals right now, that you maintain your relationships, you maintain communication, you stay active with the individuals that you've done business with in the past. You stay active in your disciplines so that you can continue to win. And just like for our football team playing for the full 60, I don't even care what your scoreboard says at the end of this year. What I care about is each and every single one of you staying committed to showing up every day and doing what you said you were going to do. Our players committed to the 60 minutes. Our players committed to the 6 seconds. And we walked out of there with, at the time, was one of the biggest upsets this season in college football. We knocked off Oklahoma. We then go and beat Texas Tech. We're now ranked the 20th team in the country. So the reality is, when you stay in the fight, regardless of challenge and adversity, 3 weeks ago, nobody would have told us when we lost to Tulane that we'd be the number 20 team in the country. They told us we were done. Is Coach Kleiman, I mean, literally questioning if our head coach should be our head coach. And so we either listen to the noise or we understand what the truth is. And what I know what the truth is, now throw football out the window. I know the truth is that every single one of you, because Brett partners with high performers. Brett has built an incredible career of being through the ups and downs of this industry, the absolute worst, and growing through it because of relationships like he has with all of you. So if all of you are high performers, if all of you have believed in the past, don't allow a raise in interest rates. Don't allow ups and downs in the financial market. Don't allow the fears and doubts of your clients to dictate how you show up. Stay consistent with your standard. Stay consistent with the disciplines that have caused you to win in the past. Stay consistent with the disciplines that cause you to believe that you can continue to win. How many deals are you going to close? I do not know. If I knew that, I'd be able to charge a lot of money, even way more money than I already charge. I don't know. But what I do know is I want each of you to be able to get to the end of the year, be able to get to the holiday season, to be able to look at your loved ones, look at your family and say, you know what? Even though this has been tough, I showed up every day and I gave it my very best. And if you can do that, you will not be with the group of individuals that sit on the sideline waiting to see what happens. Once again, I don't know how many deals you will do, but you will do more business than you would if you sat on the sideline with fear, doubt, uncertainty, and a lack of discipline. So I just wanted to share that story because I think my work in college football is very relevant to everything going on in the world. We can't be fearful. We have to believe, and we have to continue to attack. Brett, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much for that. We certainly appreciate it. I know you oftentimes, and whether it be the burn, whether it be your podcast or on Insta, you talk about Prizefighter Day. So what is that? Last time we talked a little bit about the burn, right? Like what gets you up, what really motivates you, what's your really digging into your why, right? Let's go through Prizefighter Day. What does that look like? What does it mean? Kind of just walk us soup to nuts.
Yeah. So first off, let me just mention, as you all remember, I don't ask anybody to raise their hand or nod their heads, but I appreciate Brett mentioning the burn again. That's that deep-rooted fire, right? What are you sacrificing for? What's the pain that you've been through? What's that shift in your perspective? So you have to check in now. It's been a little while since we've seen each other. Have you been connecting to your burn more? Have you been clear on the reason why you're going to fight during these tough times? Because maybe there's somebody who's watching with their little eyes how you show up every day and the example that you set during tough times. And so that happens for all of us in some regard, whether it's a niece, a nephew, a child, a colleague. There's somebody watching how you show up. So stay connected to that burn and check in with yourself and ask yourself how you've been doing there. Once we connect to the burn, and I do that every single morning, then you have to determine what are the disciplines that are within my control. And so I've called that a Prizefighter Day for over 15 years. And I break it down into the personal decisions you make every day, the professional decisions that you make every day, and then also the decisions that are of service to others. So there's a lot of speakers and coaches that do the work that I do, and they say balance does not exist. And I say that's a cop-out for the coaches who do this kind of work, who have lack of discipline themselves. They're so undisciplined. They want you to come to the camp of undiscipline rather than teaching that discipline can exist. And I think discipline is so critically important during times like this, because if you're not doing the personal things that make you feel good, being present and focused with family, working out, eating well, reading books, watching videos that motivate you, podcasts, if you're not fueling yourself mentally, it's going to be really hard to show up and do the things that are expected of you to be your best in a professional environment. So I break it down personally. What are the one or two things that are 100% in your control? Workout, nutrition, present with family. And then professionally, what are the personal and professional disciplines? Last time we were together, I said on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the most important daily discipline? So essentially, we're going to take that answer and you put it right inside of your Prizefighter day. And then you have to choose, what are the 1, what are the 2, what are the 3 most significant daily disciplines that are required of you on a daily basis, regardless of economy, regardless of what people say, that when you keep doing those things with great discipline, regardless of the result, you will continue to win long term. And then the third piece is the service-based piece. There's an old basketball coach, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach anything in the history of coaching, John Wooden, the old basketball coach for UCLA. He won 10 championships in 12 years, arguably literally one of the greatest coaches ever. But as an author and thought leader, he actually wrote more best-selling books in his 90s than 99% of best-selling authors. I mean, just his thinking was legendary. And when he used to talk about a day and service to others, he used to say that you cannot have a great day until you've done something for somebody else with no expectation of anything in return. So I believe every day we can choose to show up, even in this environment that we're currently in. And you can personally do the things that make you feel good. You can professionally do the things that compounded day after day are going to cause you to win regardless of the economy. And you can choose to do good things for other people. And the world that we live in right now, we need a world where people are doing for others and people are loving on others. It is needed more than ever. And that's one of the things I love about Brett, you know, making the intentional decision with his team for us to get together quarterly to do this, is because that's an act of service. That's an act of love. Like, look, that's Brett saying, hey, I'm in this fight with you. We're going through this together, but let's stay together. And so that's a Prizefighter day. It's what can I do personally? What can I do professionally? What can I do that's of service? So that at the end of the day, you can look in the mirror and say, today, did I give it my very best? And if all of you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, today, I gave it my very best, nobody can ever take that away from you. And you can never ask any more of yourself than giving it your very best one day at a time.
Love it. Love it. What do you say on the sidelines to a team if they're losing? Like, let's say you go into that locker room at halftime and they're just getting the shit kicked out of them. What does that look like?
Is this a bullshit foreshadow question because you think my Michigan State's fired for me that they're asking against Ohio State? I mean, damn it, Baird, what the hell are you trying to do here? So if a team is getting beat, look, and here's the reality. I can tell you guys, go white, Kathleen. So if I could share this with you, everybody hears, right? It's fun to tell the stories of Kansas State and Oklahoma. It's fun to tell the stories of the wins. Let me welcome you to my life because I think it's important. There's ups and downs, right? So in my business, like when Brett and I have calls, if Brett's struggling with something, I don't hang up the phone and say, great, glad the call's over. Like I take on Brett's pain. I'm going to reach out to Brett. Hey, man, are you doing okay? I'm going to follow up. When I left the Oklahoma Stadium, so I literally walk out of Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Oklahoma, and I had to call the head football coach at Michigan State because we had a tough loss that day to Minnesota. So just when there's ups, there's also going to be downs, and you got to stay in the fight. So I'm glad you asked that question because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. And so when you're with a team and they're losing, and here's a I like real-time examples. We beat Texas Tech on Saturday. Well, last year when we went into Texas Tech, we were down by almost 2 touchdowns at halftime. And what we told the team when we came in at halftime, we said, you guys signed up to play 60 minutes. We didn't sign up to play 30 minutes. We didn't say, today we're going to show up down here in Lubbock, Texas, and we're going to play 1 quarter of football. We didn't say we're going to play 2 quarters. You committed to each other that we were going to show up in Lubbock, Texas, and play 60 minutes. Wipe away the scoreboard, run it back to zeros. I don't care what the scoreboard says. What we care about is each and every single one of you playing the full 60 minutes, the full 60, and locking in and doing what you committed to do. We ended up beating Texas Tech that night. And so those are the things you have to stay in the fight. So for all of you right now, on October the 5th, a lot of you, yeah, the year's not going the way that you thought it would. Well, you know what? A calendar year is just like a prize fight. It's 12 rounds. You're going to quit in the 10th round? You're going to quit in the 10th round? Because if you quit, I promise you, you're going to get your ass knocked out. Nothing's going to happen. But you got to stay in the fight. You got to say, you know what? I'm going to fight as hard as I can in October, which is round 10. I'm going to fight as hard as I can in November. And you know what Ben said? The most important thing is that I got to get to the end of the year, know that I'm giving it my best. And you know what? You don't win all fights. Muhammad Ali, the greatest fighter, maybe one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the earth. I think he lost 6 fights. And he's recognized as the greatest to ever do it. Floyd Mayweather lost 0 fights. They don't say he's the greatest. It's Muhammad Ali who lost 6. So you may have some wins and losses in life, but your ability to stay in the fight is what's most important. And Alex Chapman, I think you made the comment, you know, right now, like we're looking for discipline. I want to hear from you real quick. Brett, if I can bring him in. You know, Alex, you mentioned we're looking for discipline. We just want the motivation. You know, right now, is your team showing up? Are they in the fight? Are they throwing punches every day?
I would say, I mean, out of the 52 people, we've got about 25 that are just fighting ferociously, you know? So what this does is, you know, if you do have a big team and you are, you know, recruiting and you're managing a lot of people, or even your own business, you're going to know whether or not you've got the fight in you. You know, this is what brings it out. This is what will bring out all your talent, the people that are going to claw through this business, not go get a second job, et cetera. You know, and I was having a conversation yesterday with another really good colleague of mine, and he just said, you know, Alex, you've been kind of quiet, you know, the past couple of weeks. And I said, I've just really been thinking hard on what the direction is going to be, because we're in fight mode, and I feel like we're in the championship rounds. And if I empty the tank on the wrong objective, with the market so vulnerable, then this could be catastrophic. So we really have to be very direct and intentful with our approach with our team and our business. And so it's been very, very strategic on our side because of the team, you know, combining it with personal production, et cetera. Because, you know, what do? Do you go this way? Do you go this way? You can't do it all anymore because the market isn't giving you every answer. And so, you know, I think right now what we're starting to see is which team members do we put all of our energy into, because they're giving us all of their energy. And so right now you have to nestle up into almost like you know, instead of having this army, you know, huge army out there, you have to kind of rein it back into more of like your SEAL team and focus on the people that are really giving you the same effort back, you know. And everyone else that's there is just gonna, you know, they're gonna fight and they're gonna claw. But for us to put our energy into the people that are showing up every day, that are showing up on the Zoom calls, in the meetings, in the coaching sessions, you know, that are taking the leads, showing the leads, and putting the work in, we're just starting to see very quickly the herd is just getting weeded out very, very quickly. I mean, faster than I've ever seen it. So, you know, we're putting our energy into the people giving us the energy back.
And I appreciate the honesty and the directness there. Let me give you the other side of it, because I love how you're working with those highest performers. Just 2 things that everybody could execute on immediately. To the people who are underperforming, two ideas that I have. One is called an unexpected intentional touch. Right? So what are the little things that you can do to reach out and touch that individual who showed hope, they've showed promise, they've showed success in the past? It could be a quick text message. You hear their voice on a phone call, or maybe you haven't heard them with great energy and you text them today and say, hey, I walked by your cubicle today. I walked by your office today. And I couldn't help but think about first quarter last year when you were on fire. And I know that the environment is different right now, but if you just pick up the phone and believe in yourself, because I believe in the person whose voice I heard that day, I know that you can get through this. And I just wanted to let you know that I believe in you. If there's anything you need, let me know. And sometimes that little message ends up being the difference for that person. And that person may never be an A+. As much as we want everybody that we recruit in our organizations to always be A+, on a football team, you're always going to have guys that are scout team guys. And those scout team guys are going to take pride in their work, learn great disciplines, and go be successful in their lives. But somebody might not become an A player. But if you can take that person who's kind of like that B minus and turn them into a B or a B+ because you love on them a little bit, that can help. And then the second thing is some of these positive stories. You gave the example of the SEAL team, right? Our high performers, they become our SEAL team, our elite team. We're pouring into them. They're great examples. Have morning huddles, have daily huddles. You may be doing stuff like this, but little 4 or 5 minute meetings where you encourage people, hop on a Zoom. You can bring people together in your office and say, hey, I just want to share a success story that happened yesterday. Hey, I want to share a success story about some things that are on the horizon over the next 3 weeks because I've been watching so many of you show up with great discipline every single day. I can't believe the size of our pipeline. Watch what we do as a team. And those little messages provide hope to people who think that everybody's hopeless right now. Is that helpful for you, Alex?
That is very helpful. Thank you so much.
No, good stuff. Thanks, Ben. Wanted to ask real quick. All right, so we talked about standard over feelings last time. I want to dig a little bit more into that. What do you do? Like, how do you get through it? Because you've done this for whatever, 2 million days in a row. Like, what happens when you don't feel well? Like, how do you get out of your head? You know what I mean? I'm doing the 75 hard again. It's the second time I've done it this year. I'm on day 16, so I'm still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But like day 55, it starts to get really strenuous and I don't want to get out of bed. Like, what do you say to yourself? What really pushes you to the next level just to get through the adversity personally, like emotionally, mentally?
So on the days that are tough, and look, there's plenty of days that I wake up, I don't want to work out. There's plenty of days I wake up, I don't want to eat right. There's plenty of days I don't want to do what I said. I mean, we're all human. We all have those thoughts. You have to limit those conversations. But one of the things I think about is all of you. And what I mean by that is, okay, so I woke up this morning. Today was actually one of those days. I'm traveling down to Orlando, right? So I gotta wake up early. There's no flexibility of time. Like, you gotta get up, you gotta get your stuff done, you gotta hammer your workout, you gotta get to the airport, you gotta go. I didn't want to work out this morning. I was like, man, like maybe I could do it in the afternoon when I get down to Orlando. Maybe I can do this. But here's what I literally thought about all of you. And I thought, if I show up to this Zoom call and I haven't done my workout, I'm a fraud. So if I allowed myself to be weak in that moment, and and none of you would know, right? You could highlight this and be, oh yeah, I killed that workout this morning, Brett, and nobody would know. Nobody would know if I'm actually going to do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You have no idea. But I knew for me, I would show up differently. And so now when you ask that question, it even feels good for me, right? Selfishly, I'm just going to be honest, it feels good for me to know I beat my mind this morning. I beat my mind. But I needed you guys to do it because I was not going to show up to the Zoom call not having done what I said I was going to do. And so I think it's important. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you say you're going to do something and you're an example for somebody, you don't have a choice. You have to show up and do it. I know you guys are going to get ready to hear from Claudio here in a few minutes. And on our first session a couple of months ago, when I walked you guys through standard over feelings, and I've been so thankful for my relationship and friendship and coaching relationship with Claudio over these last knocking on the door of 10 years. But I shared with you guys the example of me driving. Now we're in his beautiful office, right? But a few years ago, driving down the street, and I said, what makes you great? And if you guys remember his answer, he said, if I don't do what I said I was going to do today, the amount of guilt that I live with is too much for me to handle. I'd rather just do the work. And so for all of you, I don't want you getting to Christmas and having regret that, you know what, like half of the rest of the year from that October 5th call to the end of the year, like I kind of threw in the towel. I didn't feel like doing it. I promise you, I don't know what your results are going to be, but you're going to feel a lot better if you do what you're supposed to do and if you do what you say you're going to do than if you listen to yourself talk and you choose to not do what you know you need to do to be successful.
Awesome. I want to get to some questions from the agents. Let's start out with this guy started the Denver chapter of the Ben Newman fan club, Jorge Armstrong.
Good morning, everyone. And Brett, thank you much. And Ben, thank you for bringing it. Awesome. I love to me like the standard over feeling, the first time I heard it was at either a podcast or one of the episodes that I have in your training. It's everything. It truly is everything. If you get your head out of the way or just commit to what you say you were going to do, like I'm like double highlighting, triple highlighting on my notes. I'm like, it makes you wake up. It makes you do your calls you got to do. To me, like having the burn, having the why is it that you do it? If you don't have that first, you won't do anything else. There's no reason why to do it, or what you're gonna like cut corners or not do it right. So appreciate it very much. Loving it.
Jorge, I appreciate you. And, you know, Jorge actually aggressively had reached out and connected. He's now become part of some of our online programs. And so I know that you all just heard him mention that and say that. He's referring to, we have a program called Uncommon Live, and we had a handful of individuals. We closed down registration for that. We had a handful of individuals that actually converted with our team doing some one-on-one coaching. So if anybody's interested in that, I can entertain some questions, but you guys can send me an email to info@bennewman.net. If you're interested in any other, you know, additional ways, even if it's the burn, you want videos on the burn or Prizefighter Day or things that can help the team, please reach out. I mean, I want to be an extension of a resource that Brett's providing to be able to help you guys through this tough time. So whether it's videos we've already filmed that we can email, just please send additional questions because we can't get through them all today to info@bennewman.net, and we'll do everything that we can to be a resource for everybody. So thank you, Jorge.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Jorge. Alfredo, ask Ben a question, buddy. Unmute. There you go.
Ben, any advice on how to set up your standard to create that standard over feeling day for different people and different businesses that are in this call?
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send I'm going to have Anna from our team share a video. It's actually a kind of a Prizefighter Day video. It's a training that actually comes out of one of our training systems that we use. I've been using this for over 15 years. I'll have Anna make sure we get that to Katie and Brett so that we can distribute it to everybody that's on the call today. But Alfredo, what that'll do is that personal, professional of service. He'll kind of walk you through it, slow it down, ask you some more detailed questions. But what I would start before we get that to you and you have a chance to watch it, I think the video is about 22 or 23 minutes. But before you get a chance to go through that mental training tool, I would just write down the things that you have done in the past when you would answer the question, when have you been most successful? What did your best quarter look like? What did your best week look like? What did your best 6 months look like? And let's isolate and understand what those behaviors were. And then if you make those part of your Prizefighter Day, that's where you're going to find your next level of success. And so we'll get that video out to everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome. Will Grimes. It's those big fingers, dog.
It's those big muscles that can't fit through his shirt. You can't hit the unmute button.
I'm trying to do that. It takes even longer because, like, I know the crap from you two I'm about to get once I do it. I think my question now needs to be, how do I unmute my phone adequately while taking notes with two left hands? You know, Ben, you've worked with me. I've had the pleasure of being on your speaking team. I continue to read your text messages every morning. I have the pleasure of being a part of your programs. I'm rough around the edges. I'm a go-getter. I'm super all in. What's the number one thing? And I think it speaks to guys that want to be motivated right now. Alex Chapman talked about, you know, what I would compartmentalize it as having some composure, some poise of where energy goes. I'm a firm believer in that, of what he's talking about, but I'm also a firm believer in helping the other ones, you know, level up. As far as guys that are just really wanting to get after it right now, that whole good initiative, bad judgment kind of thing, what's the number one thing you deal with go-getter athletes that want to go so hard all the time that don't necessarily see the field appropriately? How do you guide that appropriately in athletics? How can folks really triple down on having that composure, but still having the controlled intensity, you know, to approach this in order to see it through and become successful next year?
So I believe it's page 28 inside of your mental toughness playbook. And I think we gave this to everybody on the last call. If we didn't, this is like early Christmas for everybody. So I'm going to send the Prizefighter Day video. I'm going to send a free ebook version of your mental toughness playbook. At the end of the book, I believe it's page 28. There's what we teach. It's called your emotional trigger. And it's a way that we help an athlete identify their ideal state of focus. And it applies in the business world as well, but it's a 5-step process. And so for an athlete, when they're on the field, we want to help them understand that they have 100% control of their mindset. And so there's triggers that we identify to get them to that mindset. So when you step on the field, we can lock into that moment. But then there's also the encouragement of, hey, we do need to turn this off when you're with the family. You know, we don't need you tackling your wife when you walk in the door. We don't need you tackling your kids. So we do want you to be engaged. We want you to turn it off. And that's why I say the personal, professional, and of service. I think sometimes people think, well, because the economy is really hard right now, I have to work 900 hours a day, pray to God that he gives a 36-hour day instead of 24, and only work and not work out and eat only fast food and not do anything and never see my family. And that's just not the case. I think to what Will's alluding to, how do I lock in when it's time to be in the moment? But you also have to remember to take care of yourself when it's time to go home and to be with your family and to be with your loved ones and to be with your significant others. And I think a lot of times people forget the importance of being just as present and focused with your family so that you feel good about yourself and you get that love that you need before you get battered in the environment that you're currently in, because it's not easy. And so it's got to be that balance. I appreciate you answering that question or asking that question. Brett, how about one more question? I'm going to turn it over to Claudio because I think it's important.
Yeah, I'm just picking on people. This is in no order that have their cameras on. Let's go with Bonilla. See you there.
Hey, what's up? I don't know if I have a question. Ben, I've actually been following you for quite a while. I actually read your book a few years ago and got to see you at Relentless too. So that was pretty cool with Danny. Awesome. Yeah. And so I've been following you for a little while, and I love the entire message, the burn. I mean the continued fight. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you, Jose. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, Danny Morell's a great guy. Yeah.
Excellent. So we're going to turn it over to Claudio here. Claudio is actually my money guy. Everyone needs someone like Claudio in their lives. He's a tax strategist, helps manage my money. He saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last couple of years. He's absolutely amazing. He's going to give us just, his 2 cents on market update, what he's seeing. He manages, I'm probably his poorest client. So he manages some monsters, but whether you got $5,000 or you got, $15 million, like Alex Chapman over here, everyone needs someone like a Claudio in their life.
Hey guys, thank you. That's a nice intro, man. I love the custom. That's awesome.
You ever need a hype man, call me.
Yeah, right. Like what are you doing later when I get home from, when you introduce my wife? But I appreciate you guys taking the time today. Thanks for the airtime. I really, I've got a couple things I want to cover. Kind of want to talk to you guys about just what's going on in the economy, like what we're seeing. Our business, we're business advisors, consultants, so we do a ton of work on the economic side, a ton of research on the economic side as it pertains to entrepreneurs and business owners. So there's a lot there for us to discuss. We're definitely not going to cover it all in 15 minutes. Talk through some high-level tax strategies kind of going into the end of 2022 and some things that you guys can truly take advantage of. And then I'll leave maybe a few minutes for questions. Is that fair? So a couple things. Obviously, we're seeing some unprecedented times as far as what's happening in the economy. We've got taxes going up steadily with certain tax breaks going away every year. We've got inflation at an all-time high. We've got interest rates skyrocketing. That's really only happened in the economy as like in the history of the United States twice, okay? And there's been variations of it, but at this pace, at this like steadiness, it's only really happened twice. And I'm a huge believer in like, we can study history to see how things were done and how it was impacted. So we can then not predict the future, but at least be prepared for the future, okay? So what I want to talk to you guys about is what did successful people do during those two major economic times, and then kind of parlay that into the last major meltdown we had, which was 2008. Okay, what did successful people, successful business owners, successful professionals, what did they do during those times to not just survive, but to also thrive, right? Because when this happens, money doesn't disappear. The economy shrinks, but the amount of money doesn't change. It just simply hides, and it simply becomes more patient. Okay, so what did these individuals do to be able to thrive through these? Because the most amount of growth you will see in your financial sector, if you take advantage of these opportunities, is through these economic recessions. This is like a wonderful thing for anyone with an opportunity brain, as opposed to like a scarcity brain. Okay, so one, liquidity is key. Everyone is like trying to sell people things. They're saying cash is crap, it's trash. In my opinion, looking at what successful people did to thrive, they stayed liquid. So cash is not necessarily bad. It's not very efficient, but it's not trash. Liquidity is key. Now, when I say liquidity, I'm not saying just leaving money in the bank, but think through access to capital. Okay, so what we're working with a ton of clients right now is, one, what is your liquid net worth? Like, what is your 48-hour cash? Like money you can grab in 48 hours, not retirement accounts, not equity in real estate. I'm talking about money that you can go get in the next 48 hours. If you do have equity in real estate, having that equity be transformed into a line proactively turns something that isn't accessible to something that is accessible. Okay, cash equivalents, positions that are available, debt against positions, and then also debt. I think in the right format, the right amount of debt, putting the right amount of debt on the balance sheet is really healthy, specifically in non-conforming lines. So we just negotiated with our bank to increase our unsecured line of credit for this reason. I'm not going to go touch it. I just want to have access to the cash, right? Because in 48 hours, I can get that money. It's not cheap, but it's access. So one, liquidity. Liquidity being how much money do you have in the bank? How much money do you have access to? And frankly, in the space that you guys play in your community, you can also be the thought leader saying, hey, I'm going to pull together a couple of people and have them commit capital. Like, hey, if opportunities present themselves, I need to know that I can count on you for 50,000, 100,000, 250,000, whatever it may be, right? Because the second thing individuals did is they were very aware of what's happening. Okay, so being aware of your surroundings is really kind of like a two-part thing. One is being open to opportunities, but also being very discerning on opportunities, right? Because I call this staying away from shiny objects. So for me, like shiny objects tend to be cars and boats. So I try to stay away from shiny objects during economic recessions, because those things are going to take away my ability to take advantage of opportunities. Now, the reason it's a two-part thing is because you want to be aware of what's happening. You want to be aware of the opportunities. You want to keep your eyes open, listening. You want to be understanding what's happening in the overall local economy so that you can take advantage of opportunities that may not look like opportunities right now, right? Keep this in mind. By the time someone is pitching you on an opportunity, it's probably too late, okay? Because if they're pitching you, that means it's a marketable piece. And if it was really that good, there would be no need to pitch, right? The ones that are really, really good are already full. So you need to be aware, you need to be listening, you need to be just kind of present, right? You need to be present, and then you need to stay away from shiny objects, because there's going to be a lot of things that look really good, a lot of really great real estate opportunities, a lot of good business venture capital opportunities. Things are going to come at you left and right, and the discernment needs to be there, right? And discernment needs to follow a formula. I have a personal formula on what I follow into an investment. And that formula has a couple of different pieces to it, but I would work with your financial professional or whoever's on your financial team to determine like, hey, what's the good formula? What's the rate of return that I need? What's the risk exposure that I want? Do I need a tax participation as a part of this deal? Do I need the liquidity out of it? Do I need the cash flow out of it? Like all those things need to kind of fit in your formula, right? And when an opportunity presents itself, if it fits in your formula, then that's something that you have the discernment to be able to attack or sit back, okay? And the third thing that they did is they mitigated fixed expenses, okay? Watching your OpEx is huge, okay? Whether it's your personal budget, your business budget, I don't care how wealthy an individual is. If they don't watch their fixed expenses, the creep, lifestyle creep, scope creep, it catches up to anybody, okay? And by the time it's noticeable, you're already in trouble. So get proactive on your OpEx. Get proactive on your fixed expenses. I don't care about variable expenses as much because generally speaking, that's more of like a lifestyle habit. If you really needed to, buckle down and not eat at, Capital Grill or Del Frisco's every night, right, Brett? Like you could really like kind of tone that back if you absolutely had to. But your operational expenses, those are things that are commitments. I mean, we're talking car payments, we're talking mortgages, we're talking human capital, payroll. Like you want to be really thoughtful through your OpEx in the fixed sense, because those are really hard to unwire on the fly, okay? Variable, not as much. OpEx, fixed, hard to unwire. So again, liquidity, right? Access to capital is key. Stay away from shiny objects and fix your fixed OpEx. So those are the three things that companies and successful individuals did, okay? Not are doing, they did, that put them in a position to thrive and grow. And why are those things really important? Is because it puts you in a position of power when a lot of individuals are scared. It puts you in a position of power to be able to attack and be able to take advantage of the opportunity before it becomes an opportunity. Questions, thoughts?
I mean, I love it. I think, recently we did an exercise with the team, and for a quarterly meeting. So basically everyone had to list 7 to 10 things that they're going to absolutely just get rid of now. Right. I just switched iPhones. I got a new iPhone, and then just looking through all the subscriptions, it's $200 a month that I just took just for stuff I don't need, for apps I don't use,
right.
For non-existent stuff. I would suggest everyone print out maybe 90 days bank statements, go through them with a highlighter and go line by line and figure out what we're going to, we have to start shedding the weight right now in order for, us to be able to attack. I've also seen more deals come across my desk than ever in my life, e-bike company. Just, apps, all kinds of stuff coming across. So and they seem so attractive, but I'm like, if they're coming to me, that means 15 guys before me with real money have passed. So, I completely agree. We really need to dig in and figure out what our budgets are. We need to, cut fixed expenses, and really dig in. This is the time. If it's 2 months from now, it's too late. Who has a question for Mr. Claudio? All these bright minds on here. Greg Shear.
Why you got to call me out like that?
I'm only calling you out because you got me in the trailer.
This has been amazing. I appreciate you inviting me in here. I'm a mortgage lender, so I'm sort of a competitor with Brett in a weird way, but we're super, super close friends. And I appreciate the dialogue that you guys are having. Do I have a question? I think really this moment in time, if I can give some wisdom, being old and long in the tooth, in my 50s. Number one, we all knew this was coming. When the times are so great, you got to know that you could equally be on the complete opposite end of that, and that it will equalize. So I think what I appreciate in this moment that you're saying, your speakers, and what I try and remind myself of is in these moments, I think it was Chris Caldwell who said that, being around those that are like-minded and are really doing the work and putting in the effort and the energy right now, just surrounding yourself with those people, because negativity can really drag you down. So it's not just a great time to look at your debits and your credits in the bank, but also look at your circle and your sphere of influence, man. Who's just taking straight withdrawals? You know, because it's got to be two-way. And I think it's a great time to just clean it up, just clean the deck. And every time you do that, you gain efficiencies for the next period of time. And then the other thing is just learn from this moment, kind of bottle it up, and remember that when the fruits start to fall out of that tree again, you know, don't ever forget these times, and make sure you conserve and make smarter decisions. We've all made mistakes, right? And each time we're in one of these moments, I'd like to think I make fewer mistakes, but we're all going to make them. So, you know, that's not really a question. It's just old man wisdom.
We appreciate that.
You know, I mean, I guess I could ask Ben. You know, Ben talks about being liquid in 48 hours. Where's a good place to invest? I mean, I know that's kind of a huge, broad question. Like, what are the tells of things that we should be looking for when it comes to narrowing assets that are depressed, that create real opportunities?
Yeah, that's a super broad stroke, right? I think it's all about like liquidity and your appetite for the leverage behind that investment, because the investment itself is it matters, but it just depends on you. But most investments allow for a leverage against it. In the right platforms, you don't have to liquidate an investment to have access to the liquidity behind it. Depending on the investment, you're going to have a different LTV, right? 60, 70, 80, 90, 100%. But I park a bunch of my liquidity in a couple different tools. I use treasuries. Okay, so I love treasuries right now. I have a kind of a portfolio of equities, specifically REITs, real estate investment trusts. I use a ton of utility, like government-backed utility projects. I use a ton of defensive, healthcare. Why do I have those? They're not the best performing, but they are just stable. And stability allows for healthy leverage. And when you leverage at an institutional level, it's much cheaper when you have nice backed assets. So I'm maybe performing at 6 to 8%, which in today's world is pretty awesome, but like generally speaking, it sucks. And I'm leveraging at 4, right? 4.25. I love participating in life insurance. There's a ton of life insurance out there that's not commission driven. So like if you buy life insurance, don't buy life insurance with commissions behind it. So like there's a ton there that's available that performs at guaranteed rates that have really good leverage. So like I park my cash in kind of a mixture of those 3 buckets. And then I go to Goldman, I go to BNY Mellon, I'll go to JP Morgan Chase. And again, I happen to be in a unique position because I have purchasing power with those institutional banks. But like anyone with a really healthy relationship with a good advisor should also be able to participate in that purchasing power. And, you know, your advisor should be able to like leverage that asset. And then all of a sudden you've got participating liquidity without necessarily having to worry about the volatility of the investment behind it.
When you say leveraging debt, so like I have a whole life policy.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. And there's a nice cash balance in there. And I can tap into that at a rate of 4 or 5% and get that lump sum in that 48-hour period you're talking about. Are you a fan of that? I mean, doesn't it all just depend on what you're putting it into? Because the last thing you want is to have that go sideways or the other way. Like,
right. Yeah. So like, let me be very clear. I love whole life insurance, but I love whole life insurance not because of the asset that it is, but because of what it allows for us to do after I get it out of whole life insurance. Okay. Like if you just put money in whole life insurance and you just leave it there, like it's not going to be that awesome because it's really more of a parking spot. It's not the vehicle itself.
what about the actual money that's in there? Like, how should I be? I don't want this to be about me, but some other people may be in the same boat. Like it compounds. There's a cash guarantee and things like that. So anybody that has a vehicle like that, is it your opinion that they should look to cash it out and invest that money into something?
No, they should absolutely post it as collateral and take a loan against it and wait for the right opportunity to deploy that loan money.
All right. Cool.
So like, because then you double dip, right? Specifically in life insurance, if it's, again, obviously there's like 100 different types, so I'm not going to be able to advise you like exactly. But if you use a life insurance policy with whole life, with like a guarantee, you probably have a 1-to-1 ratio, which means if you've got 100,000 in there, you can take 100,000 out.
That's right.
And depending on the company, it actually doesn't recognize itself. So you have 100,000 earning whatever, the money you take out doesn't impact your ability of what you're earning.
Right.
So lot like that's like super in depth. And I don't want to like sound arrogant here, but if like, I wouldn't recommend anyone to just go out there and buy life insurance until you get to a certain capacity to where you have access to institutional type whole life. I think whole life gets sold incorrectly because it's a really high commission product. If you don't have access to the wealth to fund institutional type whole life, you should not be buying whole life. So
Got
just
well, probably everybody on this call has a 401k though.
yes.
So I mean, you could convert that. Right now it's going down, right? You could also convert that into cash and take a loan out against that in some instances and put it into a better vehicle.
But Greg, you mentioned a really important topic. What you put into, like what you put that into matters a lot, right? Because last thing you want to do is go take this loan out and go dump it into an e-bike company, and the e-bike company goes belly up. You know?
For sure. Yeah.
And then I know we're like short on time. We're actually overtime, but really quick. I wanted to just kind of touch base on taxes for a minute. Like everyone here, like your biggest business partner is Uncle Sam. If you are not taking a proactive approach to your tax strategy, you are missing the boat on a huge opportunity. So, a lot of people maybe they're W-2 and they feel handcuffed, like I can't do anything about my tax case. That is not the case. Like there are tax strategies that you can implement and you should implement before the year's over. So by the time the year ends, it's too late, right? Like everything from depreciation to the Augusta strategy to W-2 aversions to pass-throughs, like there are a ton of tax strategies available where you can take your effective tax bracket and save 10% on it, and voila, like there's more liquidity there, right? Like just take a proactive approach. If you're not meeting with your CPA team, I'm not a CPA, so I'm not even pitching you guys to like come work with me. Like I'm just saying, like if you're not meeting with your CPA team before the year's over, meet with them. If they don't want to meet with you, find a new CPA.
Makes sense. I think we're over, guys. We certainly appreciate everyone. Thanks for your time. You guys could have been doing anything right now, and you made the decision to show up. Claudio, love you. Thanks so much. Ben, you were awesome. I've been getting texts throughout the whole thing. A lot of people got a lot from this. And for all the newcomers here, we're going to be doing this every quarter. There he is. We're going to be doing this every quarter, guys. I'm paying for it. I'm footing the bill for it. I just need you guys to show up. One thing I would ask for everyone to do, everyone has one of these. Go in your phone. Let me know another person, another realtor, business person that you know that should be on the next one. I'm going to call him personally. I'm going to invite him. I'm not going to call him and give him some two-step close and push him for business. I just want more people on these calls and to help more people out, through Ben, through guys like Claudio. We're as I said, we're most successful together. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see y'all soon.
I want to say something real quick. Just thank you so much, everybody. Just keep taking it one day at a time. Trust and believe in yourself. Stay focused on what you can control. And Brett, you need to have the same haircut as Claudio and I for the next call.
That's right.